Captain Jake Martinez stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty, watching the stars through the main window. The year was 2387, and humans had been traveling between planets for over a century. But today felt different. Today, something was coming. "Captain, we have unknown ships approaching from the outer system," said Communications Officer Lisa Bennett. Her voice was steady, but Jake could hear the worry underneath. "They're big, sir. Really big." Jake walked over to her station. On the screen, he could see several massive ships moving toward Earth. They looked nothing like human vessels. These ships were sleek and curved, with strange lights pulsing along their sides. "How many?" Jake asked. 12 large ships, maybe more smaller ones behind them," Lisa replied. "They're not responding to our signals." Chief Weapons Officer Ryan Clark looked up from his controls. "Sir, should I power up the railguns?" Jake thought for a moment. The railguns were humanity's newest weapons. Most people in space still used energy weapons like lasers and plasma cannons. But humans had always been good at throwing things really fast. "Not yet," Jake said. "Let's try to talk first." Far away on the lead alien ship, Fleet Commander Veltar looked at the small human vessel with amusement. The Zephyrian had conquered 47 different species across the galaxy. Humans would be number 48. "These creatures barely know how to leave their home planet," Veltar told his officers. "Their ships are slow and ugly. This will be easy." The Zephyrians had technology that was thousands of years old. Their energy shields could stop any laser or plasma weapon. Their own weapons could destroy planets. They had never met a species that could challenge them. Back on Earth, Admiral Kate Sullivan sat in the Defense Command Center. Screens around. Her showed the alien fleet getting closer. She had spent her whole life preparing for this moment, but she had always hoped it would never come. "Admiral, the Liberty is trying to make contact," reported her aide, Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner. "Good," Kate said. "But tell all ships to be ready. If these aliens are friendly, we'll welcome them. If not..." She didn't finish the sentence. On the Liberty, Lisa was still trying to reach the alien ships. "This is the United Earthship Liberty," she said into her microphone. "We are peaceful. Please respond." For several minutes there was only silence. Then suddenly a voice came through the speakers. It was deep and strange, but the words were in English. "Small creatures of the third planet," the voice said. "I am Fleet Commander Veltar of the Zephyrian Collective. You will surrender your world now, or we will take it by force." Jake felt his blood go cold. This was not the friendly first contact that humans had dreamed about for centuries. "We are a peaceful species," Jake replied. "We don't want to fight. Maybe we can talk and find a solution that works for everyone." Veltar laughed, and the sound was not pleasant. "There is nothing to discuss. You are weak. We are strong. That is how the galaxy works." The alien commander cut the connection. On his ship, he turned to his weapons officer. "Show these humans what happens to species that resist the collective." 3 smaller alien ships broke away from the main fleet and headed toward Mars, where humans had a small research station. The ships were fast and their weapons were already charging. Jake watched the alien ships move toward Mars and knew that talking time was over. "Ryan, power up all weapons. Lisa, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we need every ship they have." "Sir, should we use the railguns?" Ryan asked again. "Not yet," Jake said. "Let's see what these aliens can do first." The alien ships reached Mars in just a few hours. They fired their energy weapons at the research station, but the humans had already evacuated. The aliens then turned their attention to the small fleet of human ships that had arrived to defend Mars. Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner commanded the UES Dakota. When the aliens attacked, he fired back with plasma cannons. The bright energy beams hit the alien ships but did nothing. The ships had energy shields that absorbed the plasma like it was nothing. "Our weapons aren't working," Alex reported to Jake. Veltar smiled as he watched the human weapons fail. "Just as I thought. These creatures are no threat at all." But on Earth, Chief Engineer Sam Rodriguez was not worried. He had been working on the railgun systems for years. While other species in the galaxy used energy weapons, Humans had developed something different. "Admiral," Sam said to Kate Sullivan, "the aliens' shields stopped our plasma weapons, but I don't think they'll stop our railguns." "Why not?" Kate asked. "Because railguns don't fire energy," Sam explained. "They fire solid metal pieces at incredible speed. Energy shields are designed to stop energy, not physical objects moving at 1/10 the speed of light." Kate understood immediately. "How fast can you get the railguns ready?" "They're ready now," Sam said with a smile. Back near Mars, the alien ships were getting closer to the human fleet. Veltar expected the humans to retreat or surrender. Instead, Jake gave an order that would change galactic history forever. "All ships, this is Captain Martinez. Prepare to fire railguns on my mark." The railguns looked different from other weapons. Instead of glowing energy tubes, they were long metal barrels. Inside each barrel, powerful magnets could accelerate a small piece of tungsten metal to incredible speeds. "Fire," Jake commanded. The tungsten projectiles were invisible as they flew through space. They were too small and too fast to see. But when they hit the alien ships, the results were devastating. The first projectile punched through an alien ship's shield like it wasn't there. It went through the hull, through the inside of the ship, and out the other side. The alien ship exploded in a bright flash. Veltar stared in shock as 2 more of his ships were destroyed in seconds. "Impossible," he whispered. "How are they penetrating our shields?" His science officer was frantically checking the readings. "Commander, these aren't energy weapons. They're firing physical projectiles at enormous speeds. Our shields can't stop solid matter moving that fast." For the first time in his long military career, Veltar felt fear. These humans had technology that the Zephyrians had never encountered. Worse, they were very good at using it. "Retreat," he ordered. "Back to the outer system. We need to warn the collective." As the alien ships fled, Jake sat back in his command chair. The first battle was over, but he knew this was just the beginning. Soon, the entire galaxy would know that humans had weapons that could punch through any shield. The age of human isolation was over. The galaxy would never be the same. 2 days had passed since the first battle near Mars. The alien fleet still hung in space beyond Neptune, but they were no longer moving toward Earth. Fleet Commander Veltar was studying the wreckage of his destroyed ships, trying to understand what had happened. On Earth, Dr. Amy Foster stood in front of a room full of military officers. She was the scientist who had designed the railgun technology, and now everyone wanted to understand how it worked. "The aliens use energy shields," Amy explained, pointing to a diagram on the wall. "These shields can absorb or deflect any kind of energy weapon. Lasers, plasma cannons, particle beams, nothing gets through." General Paul Davis raised his hand. "But our railguns worked." "Why?" Amy smiled. "Because railguns don't fire energy. They fire solid pieces of metal. The shields are designed to stop energy, not physical objects. When a tungsten rod hits their ships at 1/10 the speed of light, it goes right through their shields like they're not even there." In space, Commander Rick Hamilton sat on the bridge of the UES Dakota. His ship was equipped with the newest railgun systems, and he had orders to test them against the alien fleet if they attacked again. That test came sooner than expected. Veltar had decided that the human weapons were just lucky shots. His ships still outnumbered the humans 10-1. Surely with enough firepower he could overwhelm their defenses. "All ships, advance toward the inner system," Veltar commanded. "Target their largest vessels first." The Zephyrian fleet began, moving toward Earth again. Their energy weapons were charging and their shields were at full power. Veltar was confident that sheer numbers would win the day. Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the alien ships approach on her command screens. "All human vessels, you are cleared to engage with full firepower. Show them what we can do." Rick Hamilton smiled as he received the order. "All weapon stations, prepare to fire. Let's give these aliens a proper welcome to human space." The UES Dakota was one of humanity's newest ships. It carried 12 railgun turrets, each capable of firing tungsten projectiles at incredible speeds. Rick had been waiting his whole career for a chance to use them in real combat. "Weapons ready, sir," reported his weapons officer, Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez. Fire at will, Rick commanded. The Dakota's railguns fired in sequence. Each shot sent a small tungsten rod flying through space at enormous speed. The projectiles were invisible to the naked eye, but their effects were devastating. The first alien ship to be hit was a cruiser twice the size of the Dakota. The tungsten rod punched through the ship's shield, through its hull, and deep into its interior. Secondary explosions tore the ship apart from the inside. On his command ship, Veltar watched in horror as more of his vessels were destroyed. The human weapons seemed to ignore his shields completely. Worse, each human ship seemed to carry multiple weapons that could fire very quickly. "Commander, we're losing ships faster than we can count them," his tactical officer reported. "These projectile weapons are destroying everything they hit." Veltar had never faced an enemy like this. In all his battles across the galaxy, energy shields had been the ultimate defense. Now they were useless. Meanwhile, communications specialist Maria Santos on the UES Liberty was listening to alien radio chatter. The translation computers were working overtime to decode their messages. "Captain Martinez," Maria called out. "I'm picking up alien transmissions. They're panicking, sir. They keep saying something about impossible weapons and shield penetration." Jake nodded. "Keep listening. Any intelligence we can get might help us." On the UES Montana, Captain Tony Blake was leading a squadron of smaller ships in precision attacks against the alien formation. The Montana was humanity's most powerful warship, armed with massive railguns that could fire projectiles the size of telephone poles. "Target their command ships," Tony ordered. "If we can disrupt their leadership, maybe they'll retreat." The Montana's main railgun fired, sending a massive tungsten projectile toward the largest alien vessel. The rod was so large and fast that it created a visible streak of light as it flew through space. When it hit the alien command cruiser, the results were spectacular. The projectile went completely through the ship, causing massive explosions along its path. The alien vessel broke in half and began spinning out of control, but the most impressive demonstration came from the battleship UES Philadelphia, commanded by Captain Greg Collins. The Philadelphia carried the newest experimental railgun technology, weapons that could fire multiple projectiles in rapid sequence. "All railgun batteries focus fire on the enemy flagship," Greg commanded. The Philadelphia fired 12 tungsten rods in less than 3 seconds. All 12 projectiles hit Veltar's command ship within moments of each other. The alien flagship, which had been designed to withstand the firepower of entire fleets, was torn apart like paper. Veltar barely escaped in an emergency pod as his ship exploded around him. For the first time in his military career, he was truly afraid. Dr. Amy Foster, watching the battle from Earth, was amazed by the effectiveness of her weapons. The projectiles retained their killing power even after passing through multiple targets, she explained to the officers around her. One tungsten rod can damage several ships if they're lined up properly. This gave Captain Luke Robinson an idea. He commanded a squadron of fast attack ships, each armed with smaller railguns. Instead of targeting individual alien vessels, he positioned his ships so that their projectiles would pass through multiple enemies. "Fire in sequence," Luke ordered. "Let's see how many ships we can hit with each shot." The strategy worked perfectly. Luke's squadron fired tungsten rods that punched through the first alien ship, continued through the second ship behind it, and even damaged a third vessel. The aliens had never seen weapons that could attack multiple targets with a single shot. The battle was becoming a rout. The alien fleet, which had started with over 50 ships, was now down to less than 20. Their energy weapons were powerful, but they couldn't hit the fast-moving human ships. Meanwhile, every human shot seemed to destroy or cripple an alien vessel. Veltar, now commanding from a smaller ship, finally gave the order he had never thought he would need to give. "All ships, retreat immediately. Fall back to the outer system." As the alien ships fled, they sent desperate messages back to their homeworlds. The messages all contained the same terrifying information. Humans had weapons that could penetrate any shield, and they were very good at using them. The surviving Zephyrian ships gathered near Pluto, far from the human fleet. Veltar looked at his remaining forces and realized that his easy conquest had become a disaster. Half of his fleet was gone, destroyed by weapons he didn't understand. "Commander," his science officer said, "I've analyzed the human weapons. They're using magnetic acceleration to fire solid projectiles at relativistic speeds. It's primitive technology but incredibly effective against energy shields." Veltar understood the implications immediately. If these humans can build such weapons, and if they're willing to fight, then we need help. Send a message to the Collective Council. Tell them we need reinforcements. But even as he sent the message, Veltar knew that reinforcements might not be enough. The humans had shown that they could think differently, fight differently, and win against impossible odds. On Earth, celebrations were beginning in the major cities. Humanity had faced their first test against alien invaders and had won decisively. But the military leaders knew this was just the beginning. "They'll be back," Admiral Kate Sullivan told her staff. "And next time, they'll bring more ships." Dr. Amy Foster was already working on improvements to the railgun technology. "We need faster firing rates and more powerful projectiles," she said. "This battle proved that our approach works, but we need to be ready for a much larger fight." As news of the battle spread across human space, one thing became clear: the galaxy had underestimated humanity, and that mistake had cost them dearly. The age of easy conquest was over, and the aliens were about to learn that humans were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The news traveled fast across the galaxy. Within a week, every major alien civilization knew about the human weapons that could punch through energy shields. The reaction was not what humanity had hoped for. On the planet Corva Prime, War Minister Drax read the battle reports with growing anger. The Corvan Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds using their superior energy weapons and shields. Now, a small species from a backwater planet had technology that could make all of that useless. "These humans are a threat to the natural order," Drax told his council. "If other species learn to build these kinetic weapons, our empire could fall." Meanwhile, on Earth, Ambassador Susan Price was trying to prevent exactly that kind of thinking. She had spent her career studying alien cultures and knew that fear often led to war. "We need to reach out to the peaceful species first," Susan told Admiral Carl Lopez. "If we can make allies before the military empires decide to attack us, we might avoid a galactic war." Carl nodded, but he was already preparing for the worst. "I'll keep building our defenses, but you work on the diplomacy. Maybe we can convince them that we're not a threat." The problem was that humans were a threat, at least a species that relied on conquest and intimidation. For thousands of years, galactic civilization had been stable because everyone used similar technology. Energy shields could stop energy weapons, so battles were usually decided by who had the most ships or the most powerful reactors. Now humans had changed everything. Dr. Kevin Murphy was working around the clock to improve the railgun systems. His team had discovered that human ships could carry much more ammunition than alien vessels, because solid projectiles took up less space than energy weapon power cells. "We can fight longer battles than they can," Kevin explained to General Helen Wright. "Their ships run out of power, but we just run out of metal. And metal is easier to replace than antimatter." This discovery worried the aliens even more. Intelligence. Officer Nick Johnson had intercepted alien communications that revealed their growing fear. "They're calling emergency councils on 12 different worlds," Nick reported. "The message is always the same. Humans have upset the balance of power, and something needs to be done about it." The Hegemony Council was the closest thing the galaxy had to a government. Representatives from 50 different species met on the neutral world of Nexus Prime to discuss the human problem. Chairman Crixtall, a tall insect-like being, opened the meeting with a simple question: "What do we do about the humans?" The responses varied wildly. Some species wanted to study human technology and learn from it. Others wanted to destroy Earth before humans could spread their weapons to other worlds. A few suggested trying to make friends with humanity and benefit from their innovation. "These humans are clearly intelligent," said Ambassador Vex from the Altarian Federation. "Perhaps we should invite them to join galactic civilization peacefully." War Minister Drax slammed his fist on the table. They are a disease that will spread if we don't stop them now. Today they have kinetic weapons. Tomorrow, they might develop something even worse. The debate continued for days, but no agreement could be reached. The galaxy was dividing into three groups: those who wanted to befriend humans, those who wanted to destroy them, and those who wanted to stay out of the conflict entirely. On Earth, Captain Luke Robinson was leading reconnaissance missions to gather information about alien fleet movements. What he found was disturbing. "Admiral, we're seeing massive military buildup in 17 different systems," Luke reported to Carl Lopez. "It looks like they're planning a coordinated attack." Carl studied the intelligence reports. The aliens were gathering the largest war fleet in galactic history. Over 3,000 ships from dozens of different species were slowly moving toward human space. "They're not taking any chances this time," Carl said. "They want to overwhelm us with sheer numbers." But humans had advantages that the aliens didn't fully understand. Dr. Julie Adams, a specialist in human psychology, had been studying why human military tactics were so effective. "It's not just the railguns," Julie explained to the Defense Council. "Human brains are different from alien brains. We're better at three-dimensional thinking and pattern recognition. Our pilots can see tactical opportunities that alien commanders miss." This was proven during a skirmish near the Alpha Centauri system. Captain Steve Adams, commanding the UES Boston, faced a squadron of 12 alien ships with only 3 human vessels. Instead of fighting a traditional battle, Steve used the asteroids in the system as cover. He positioned his ships so that the aliens had to come at him one at a time through narrow gaps between rocks. "They're thinking like they're fighting on a flat surface," Steve explained to his weapons officer. "But space is three-dimensional. We can use that against them." The human ships picked off the alien vessels one by one as they tried to navigate through the asteroid field. The aliens, used to fighting in open space with energy weapons, couldn't adapt to the complex environment. Meanwhile, Colonel Lisa Hayes was setting up ground-based railgun installations throughout the solar system. These massive weapons could fire projectiles all the way across the solar system with incredible accuracy. "If they want to attack Earth, they'll have to get past these first," Lisa told her engineering teams. The installations were hidden on asteroids, moons, and space stations, creating a defensive network unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Back on Corva Prime, War Minister Drax was growing impatient with the Hegemony Council's debates. He decided that the Corvan Empire would act alone if necessary. "Gather our full battle fleet," Drax ordered his admirals. "If the other species are too weak to deal with the human threat, we'll do it ourselves." The Corvan fleet was the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Their ships were heavily armored and carried weapons that could crack planets. Drax was confident that even human kinetic weapons couldn't penetrate Corvan battle armor. He was about to learn how wrong he was. Chief Tactician Karen Murphy had been developing new combat strategies specifically for heavily armored targets. Her solution was elegant in its simplicity. If one railgun couldn't penetrate their armor, use 10 railguns at the same time. "We'll focus multiple railgun shots on the same point," Karen explained to the fleet commanders. "Even the strongest armor has limits." Captain Tony Blake was excited to test these new tactics. His ship, the UES Oregon, had been equipped with experimental railgun systems that could fire in perfect synchronization. "It's like using a hammer," Tony told his crew. "One hit might not break the rock, but 10 hits in the same spot will shatter it." As the various alien fleets moved toward human space, humanity was preparing defenses that would shock the galaxy. The aliens expected to fight a primitive species with lucky weapons. Instead, they were about to face the most innovative military force the galaxy had ever encountered. Combat engineer Will Johnson was working on rapid reload systems for the railguns. His improvements would allow human ships to fire 3 times faster than before. "Speed is our advantage," Will explained. "We can fire more shots, reload faster, and stay mobile longer than they can." The stage was being set for the largest space battle in galactic history. On one side, thousands of alien ships using traditional energy weapons and tactics. On the other side, a few hundred human vessels equipped with kinetic weapons and commanded by officers who thought about warfare in completely new ways. Ambassador Susan Price made one last attempt at diplomacy, sending messages to every alien government. "We don't want to fight," she said in her broadcast. "Humans are explorers and builders, not conquerors. But if you force us to defend ourselves, you will discover that we are very good at it." Most alien leaders ignored her message. They had already decided that humanity was too dangerous to exist. But a few species, particularly the peaceful ones that had been conquered by others, began to wonder if maybe the humans were exactly what the galaxy needed. The Altarian Federation, tired of being bullied by military empires, secretly sent a message to Earth. "If you can defeat the war fleets, we will help you build a better galaxy." As the alien armadas approached the edge of human space, both sides prepared for a battle that would determine the future of galactic civilization. The aliens came seeking an easy victory against a primitive species. The humans waited with weapons and tactics that would rewrite the rules of warfare forever. The largest war fleet in galactic history emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 17 different alien species had joined together, bringing over 3,000 ships to destroy humanity once and for all. Fleet Admiral Dan Miller stood on the bridge of the UES Philadelphia, humanity's flagship. Around him, his officers monitored hundreds of screens showing the approaching alien armada. The enemy fleet stretched across space like a metal ocean. "How many ships?" Dan asked his tactical officer. 3,215 confirmed, came the reply. "Maybe more still coming out of hyperspace." Dan nodded calmly. He commanded only 400 human ships, but each one was equipped with the most advanced railgun systems ever built. More importantly, his crews had been training for this moment for months. On the planet Mars, Colonel Lisa Hayes watched the alien fleet through her command center's displays. Her ground-based railgun installations were hidden throughout the solar system, ready to surprise the enemy. "All stations report ready," Lisa announced to Dan over the communication system. "We can hit them from Pluto to Mercury." The alien fleet was led by War Minister Drax of the Corvan Empire. His massive command ship was the size of a small moon, armored with the strongest metals in the galaxy. Drax was confident that his overwhelming numbers would crush the humans. "Begin the attack," Drax ordered. "Destroy every human ship and installation. Leave nothing alive." The alien fleet moved forward like a storm of metal and energy. Their weapons charged up, creating a light show that could be seen from Earth's surface. They expected the humans to either surrender or die quickly. Instead, Chief Tactician Karen Murphy put her new battle plans into action. "All ships, execute Pattern Alpha," Karen commanded from her position on the Philadelphia. "Hit them from every direction at once." The human fleet split into dozens of small groups, each moving in different directions. Instead of meeting the aliens head-on, they scattered throughout the solar system like seeds in the wind. Captain Steve Adams commanded one of these groups near the asteroid belt. His 3 ships looked tiny compared to the alien vessels pursuing them, but Steve had advantages the aliens didn't understand. "Use the asteroids as cover," Steve ordered. "Make them come to us one at a time." When the alien ships entered the asteroid field, they found themselves in a deadly maze. The human ships could navigate between the rocks easily, but the larger alien vessels had to move slowly and carefully. Steve's ships fired their railguns from hidden positions behind asteroids. The tungsten projectiles punched through alien hulls before the enemy even knew they were under attack. "They're picking us apart," reported one of the alien commanders to Drax. "We can't maneuver properly in these asteroid fields." But the real surprise came when Commander Michelle Brown activated the first of Lisa Hayes' hidden railgun installations. The installation was built into a large asteroid near Jupiter. From the outside, it looked like just another rock. But inside was a railgun the size of a building, capable of firing projectiles across the entire solar system. "Fire," Lisa commanded. The asteroid railgun fired a tungsten rod the size of a telephone pole at incredible speed. The projectile crossed millions of miles in seconds and struck an alien battleship with the force of a nuclear weapon. The alien ship simply vanished, replaced by an expanding cloud of debris. Drax stared in shock as more of his ships were destroyed by weapons fired from seemingly empty space. "Where are these attacks coming from?" His science officer was frantically scanning the system. "Commander, the humans have weapon installations hidden throughout their solar system. They're firing from asteroids, moons, even space debris." Lieutenant Colonel Ben Davis had discovered something even more devastating about railgun weapons. When fired at the right angle, a single projectile could pass through multiple enemy ships. "Line up your shots," Ben told his squadron leaders. One bullet, multiple targets. Ben's ships positioned themselves so that the alien vessels formed neat lines from their perspective. When they fired, single tungsten rods punched through 3, 4, sometimes 5 alien ships in a row. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Their energy weapons could only hit one target at a time, but the human kinetic weapons seemed to kill everything in their path. Pilot Jenny Clark was demonstrating another human advantage: superior three-dimensional thinking. While alien pilots thought about space battles like fights on a flat surface, Jenny used all 3 dimensions. She dove her fighter under an alien formation, then pulled up sharply to attack from below. The alien ships couldn't rotate their weapons fast enough to track her movements. "These humans fly like nothing we've ever seen," one alien pilot reported. "They use space itself as a weapon." Combat engineer Will Johnson's rapid reload systems were proving their worth in the chaos of battle. Human ships could fire their railguns 3 times faster than the aliens had expected. Captain Rob Martinez demonstrated this during a fierce engagement near Saturn. His ship, the UES Texas, faced 6 alien cruisers at once. While the aliens were still charging their energy weapons for a second shot, Rob's railguns had already fired 12 times. All 6 alien ships were destroyed before they could return fire. But the aliens had numbers on their side and they began to adapt. Drax ordered his ships to spread out, making it harder for human projectiles to hit multiple targets. "Surround their positions," Drax commanded. "Force them to fight in the open where we can use our superior numbers." This led to the Battle of Europa, where Captain Luke Robinson made his stand with 30 human ships against over 200 alien vessels. The odds seemed impossible, but Luke had been studying alien tactics for months. He knew their weaknesses. "They always attack in formation," Luke explained to his captains. "They're predictable. We can use that against them." As the alien ships approached in their traditional battle formation, Luke's ships fired their railguns not at the ships themselves, but at the space where the ships would be in 30 seconds. The tungsten projectiles arrived at exactly the right moment, just as the alien formation moved into position. Dozens of alien ships flew directly into the path of the human projectiles. "Impossible," whispered Drax as he watched his carefully planned attack dissolve into chaos. "How did they know where we would be?" Dr. Ashley Johnson, monitoring the battle from Earth, had the answer. "Human pattern recognition is superior to theirs," she explained to the other scientists. "Our brains can predict their movements better than their computers can predict ours." The turning point came when Captain Tim Hayes led an assault on the alien command ship itself. His experimental hypervelocity railguns could fire projectiles at 1/5 the speed of light, faster than anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Target their flagship," Tim ordered. "Let's cut off the head of this snake." The hypervelocity rounds hit Drax's command ship with the force of antimatter bombs. The alien vessel's armor, designed to withstand the most powerful energy weapons in the galaxy, was torn apart like tissue paper. Drax barely escaped in an emergency pod as his mighty flagship broke apart around him. With their command structure shattered, the alien fleet began to fall apart. Individual species started retreating, unwilling to sacrifice more ships for a battle they were clearly losing. "All human ships, pursue the fleeing enemies," Dan Miller ordered. "Don't let them regroup." The humans chased the retreating aliens across the solar system, picking off stragglers and damaged ships. What had begun as an overwhelming assault on humanity had become a complete rout. By the time the battle ended, over half the alien fleet had been destroyed or captured. The surviving ships fled back to their homeworlds, carrying news of a defeat that shocked the entire galaxy. On Earth, celebrations began in every major city. Humanity had faced the largest military force in galactic history and had won decisively. But the military leaders knew the real victory was not just surviving, It was proving that human tactics and technology could defeat anyone. We didn't just win a battle, Admiral Dan Miller told his officers. We changed the rules of warfare forever. The aliens who had come to destroy humanity had instead learned that underestimating an opponent was the most dangerous mistake a warrior could make. The galaxy would never be the same, and every species would have to reconsider everything they thought they knew about war, technology, and the small species from the third planet of an unremarkable star. 6 months after the Great Battle, the galaxy was a very different place. The failed invasion had shattered the old power structures that had existed for thousands of years. Now, everyone wanted to talk to the humans. Ambassador Peter Garcia sat in the meeting hall on Nexus Prime, surrounded by representatives from dozens of alien species. The same beings who had wanted to destroy humanity now spoke to him with careful respect. The Terran Federation seeks peaceful relations with all species, Peter said calmly. We never wanted to fight, but we will always defend ourselves. Chairman Crixtall of the Hegemony Council nodded respectfully. The insect-like being had learned to fear human capabilities, but more importantly, he had learned to respect human wisdom. Humanity has proven its strength, Crixtall said. The question now is what kind of galaxy we will build together. The answer came from an unexpected source. Admiral Nancy Rodriguez, who now commanded the largest fleet in human space, had been working with former enemies to create something new. We propose a galactic defense alliance, Nancy explained to the assembled diplomats. Not to conquer, but to protect peaceful species from aggressive empires. The idea was revolutionary. For millennia, the galaxy had been ruled by whoever had the strongest military. Now humans were suggesting a system based on cooperation rather than conquest. Many species eagerly joined the alliance. The Altarian Federation, which had been conquered and reconquered by various empires, was one of the first to sign up. Finally, we can defend ourselves, said Ambassador Vex with obvious relief. With human kinetic weapons and our industrial capacity, no empire will dare attack us again. Dr. Ashley Johnson had been leading the technology transfer programs. Her job was to help allied species adapt railgun technology to their own ships and fighting styles. Every species thinks differently, Ashley explained to her human engineering teams. The Altarians prefer defensive tactics, so we're building their railguns for maximum accuracy. The Xanthari like fast attacks, so their systems focus on rapid fire. The work was challenging because each species had different ship designs, different materials, and different ways of thinking about warfare, but the results were spectacular. Captain Frank Miller commanded the first mixed-species fleet in galactic history. His flagship, the UES Harmony, was joined by Altarian cruisers, Xanthari, fighters, and even a few reformed Zephyrian ships. It's like conducting an orchestra, Frank told his mixed crew of humans and aliens. Everyone plays a different instrument, but together we make beautiful music. The fleet's first real test came when the Corvan Empire tried to reconquer one of their former colonies. War Minister Drax, bitter about his defeat at Earth, had rebuilt his forces and was looking for an easy victory. Instead, he found himself facing the new Galactic Alliance. General Jerry Wilson had established training academies throughout Allied space where human officers taught alien crews how to use kinetic weapons effectively. It's not just about the guns, Jerry explained to a class of Altarian naval officers. It's about thinking in 3 dimensions, predicting enemy movements, and using your environment as a weapon. The Altarians were eager students. They had been conquered so many times that they had studied every aspect of military tactics, trying to understand why they always lost. Now finally, they were learning how to win. When Drax's fleet attacked the Altarian colony world of New Haven, they expected another easy conquest. Instead, they found a system defended by railgun-equipped ships using human-designed tactics. The battle was over in hours. The Corvan ships designed to fight traditional energy weapon battles were completely outmatched by the new Alliance forces. Diplomat Frank Miller was there to negotiate Drax's surrender. The proud Corvan leader had lost his second fleet to human weapons and tactics. Your empire's time is over, Frank told Drax bluntly. You can join the new order peacefully, or you can be destroyed like your fleets. Drax chose survival. Within weeks, even the mighty Corvan Empire had applied to join the Galactic Defense Alliance. But the changes went deeper than just military technology. Scientist Dr. Rachel Stone had been studying why humans were so successful at innovation and adaptation. "It's our evolutionary history," Rachel explained to a conference of galactic scientists. "Humans evolved on a dangerous planet with constantly changing conditions. We had to adapt or die, so we became very good at solving new problems quickly. This insight revolutionized how other species approached research and development. Instead of sticking to traditional methods that had worked for thousands of years, they began experimenting with new approaches. The results were amazing. The Altarians, working with human scientists, developed new materials that made railgun projectiles even more effective. The Xanthari created guidance systems that could hit targets across entire star systems. Captain Tim Hayes now commanded the largest joint fleet in the Alliance. His ships included vessels from 12 different species, all working together with unprecedented cooperation. "We're not just sharing technology," Tim explained to reporters. "We're sharing ideas, perspectives, and dreams. The galaxy is becoming something it's never been before, truly united." The transformation wasn't always smooth. Some species struggled to adapt to the new reality. The Hegemony Council had to deal with several minor wars as old empires collapsed and new alliances formed. But humanity's influence continued to grow not through conquest but through example. Human diplomatic, scientific, and military advisors were in demand throughout the galaxy. Lieutenant Commander Sarah Walsh ran the human embassy on the former Corvan capital world. Her job was to help the Corvans transition from a military empire to a peaceful member of the galactic community. "It's not easy for them," Sarah reported to Earth. "They've been conquerors for so long that they don't know how to be anything else. But they're learning." The learning process was helped by practical benefits. Species that joined the Alliance found their trade increasing, their colonies better protected, and their people more prosperous. Commander Mike Davis commanded a patrol fleet that kept the space lanes safe from pirates and rogue military units. His ships were crewed by volunteers from dozens of species, all working together to maintain the new peace. "Pirates used to be a major problem," Mike explained to his mixed crew. "Now they take one look at our railgun-equipped ships and decide to find honest work instead." The greatest change was philosophical. For thousands of years, galactic civilization had believed that might made right. Whoever had the strongest military got to make the rules. Humans had proven they had the strongest military. But instead of making themselves galactic dictators, they had chosen to share their power. This shocked many species and inspired others. Dr. Julie Adams, now director of the Galactic Psychology Institute, studied the long-term effects of the human revolution. "We didn't just change military technology," Julie concluded. "We changed how the entire galaxy thinks about power, cooperation, and the future." The proof came during the Outer Rim crisis, when a previously unknown species called the Devourers began attacking frontier colonies. These aliens were even more aggressive than the old military empires, and their technology was completely different from anything the galaxy had seen before. But the response was swift and decisive. The Galactic Alliance, now including over 200 species, mobilized the largest fleet in galactic history, not to conquer but to defend. Captain Tony Blake, now Admiral Blake, commanded the Alliance response. His fleet included human railgun ships, Altarian defensive platforms, Xanthari fighters, reformed Corvan battleships, and vessels from dozens of other species. "This is what we built the Alliance for," Tony announced to his vast fleet. "Not to fight each other, but to protect everyone from real threats." The Devourers were defeated in a campaign that lasted only 3 months. Their advanced technology was no match for the combined innovation and cooperation of 200 allied species. As Tony stood on his flagship's bridge, watching Devourer ships surrender across a dozen star systems, he reflected on how much the galaxy had changed. "Humans didn't conquer the galaxy," he said to his aide, a young Altarian officer. "We taught the galaxy to conquer itself, to conquer fear, hatred, and the need to dominate others." The galaxy was finally at peace, not because one species had defeated all others, but because all species had learned to work together. The small humans from the third planet of an unremarkable star had given the galaxy something it had never had before: hope for a better future. And in that future, the lesson of the Railguns would never be forgotten. Sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is underestimate someone who thinks differently than you do.